Why? No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
We have a bunch of weak, feckless leaders.
Wide
creating
around the
hard times
event.
right now.
What the fuck is going
Will
on?
you let me
around?
speak?
Do we take him out to a farm and shoot him?
No spin, no filters, just the real conversation.
I hope it's not short-lived, man.
This is actually fucking crazy to me, is that despite all the odds, the left propaganda machine was telling us over and over and over with their stupid little TikTok dances that, Kamala Harris was going to crush it. She was going to win all the battleground states. Trump had nary a chance in hell because he's a fascist and he's bigoted and he hates women, he hates gays, he hates trans. And yet here we are. It's been how many hours?
120 hours.
It's been 120 hours, and the world is already changing for the better. All right. Not only do we have some of the Hollywood elite that are sucking up all the positivity and I don't know, they're vile human beings. All they do is sit in front of a screen and talk for lots and lots of money. They're leaving. Some of them are leaving the country. Like Tom Hanks is MIA, I guess, at this point.
He's been gone for a while. He left for Greece.
Let him go, right? And then not to mention all these other people are packing up and leaving. For whatever reason. It's like literally you shouldn't. And here's why you shouldn't be leaving. Even if you detest the man, you detest Trump, you detest all the people that supported him, don't leave. This is the golden era of the United States that you're walking out on. And that's what we're going to talk about. This is
Before we jump into that, the reason they're leaving, though, is they're fucking pedos and they're on a list somewhere and they got to get the fuck out before Diddy's list pops, Epstein's list pops, whatever. Tom Hanks is notorious for being on Epstein's list. Okay. So that motherfucker got out 5 years ago.
However, if you're just an average Joe, an average American, and you were super hyped for Kamala coming in, I get it. It stings to lose an election.
This
Zach
is how I
here,
felt in 2020.
Zach chose the wrong candidate every single time, except for this time.
This is the first one that I've ever won. You look at the last 20 years of presidents being elected, I voted for the other guy.
Zach has felt the
single
sting
election.
every 4 years. And so trust me, we know how you feel. But here's my message to you. If you voted for Kamala and you really don't like Trump and MAGA, stay put. Don't do anything crazy. Just take a look at what the economy is about to do. So, kicking things off, we were all told, Trump was a misogynist, that he hates women with a passion. What's the first appointment he makes? Susie Wiles. She's in as the first female chief of staff in the history of this nation that is a Trump appointee. It helps that Susie has been working with Trump for quite some time, actually. She's got quite the background working in his administration and within the GOP in general. She was a lobbyist. She was a political lobbyist. She did a bunch of work. She's actually super, super smart. Anyway, she's on board. And what does the left immediately do? The first thing they do is they cast shade at Susie Wiles. They're like, Russia. She was colluding with Russia. It's all over the paper. We have all these allegations we want to levy at Susie. And again, what did we already know. All the Russia thing, it was a giant hoax. So stop buying in to the Russia hoax. It's a hoax. So if you're a Kamala supporter and you're listening to this somehow, some way, recognize that it was a hoax and they're trying to get you to rebuke the system. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't listen to it. Just watch what's actually happening, and we're going to get some of these points. And
don't listen to Mark Cuban, because Trump has had so many strong independent women around him. I mean, just look at his damn wife and Susie Wiles. You can take just those two. I could name off 100 others, but I'm not going to take in too much of Jesse's list time. I just wanted to put that one fucking thing. Fuck you, Mark Cuban, and your lesbian glasses.
It's ridiculous. So I don't even know. I used to love Mark Cuban, and I still do. I just don't know what's happening with him in this moment in time. Is he's taking somebody's got
something on him.
I wonder. So anyway, what happens right after Trump goes on the stage and accepts the victory? the Taliban reach out. They're like, hey, we want to negotiate a peace deal with the United States, and we want to come off the terrorist watch list. How do we do that? The first thing, which is huge, why didn't that? You have to ask yourself, why didn't that happen under Biden-Harris? Because they're weak. To quote Zach, feckless. They're ineffective. That's why it didn't happen. But again, you just saw that happen right after Trump. Hey, Trump's not even the president yet. He's just
120 hours, baby.
It's been 120 hours of him just going to be the president on the 5th, on the 20th of January.
It was like you watch The Breakfast Club thrashing shit, and then the fucking teacher comes in and is like, what the fuck? Everybody acts right. They start behaving.
Everybody's starting to behave. And one of those people is Putin. Putin came right out and was like, hey, Western civilization is not the enemy. We are super interested in Trump's vision for resolving this Russia-Ukraine crisis. He refuses to call it a war. It's a special military operation until the end of time, if you're Russian, if you're a Putin supporter. But he's here. He's here to hear what Trump has to say and to put this to bed. I mean, he knows full well that Ukraine is done, is cooked. They're not getting any more dollars, not a single American dollar. And we were talking about this on the stream the other day. If the Ukraine war is so important to Ukraine, then where the fuck are their allies in Europe? Where are they? Yeah. Where are the Polish? Where are the Germans? Where are the French?
Sitting around.
They're not doing.
Sitting around waiting for America to take care of it.
Have some francs, have some Deutschmarks. Good luck. But they're not actually doing anything about it. If they were truly vehement on defending the sovereignty of Ukraine, I want to see European boots on ground marching into Ukraine and doing something about it. But they didn't see it. Instead, just like you said, they're like, hey, USA, go figure this out for us.
Yeah.
We can't be bothered. Just so everybody's aware, the distance from Kiev to Washington, D.C. is about 5,000 miles. Just think about that. We're spending billions and billions of dollars a month on something that's happening 5,000 miles away that has no impact on us. The Europeans, on the other hand, are right next door to it, and they couldn't give a flying fuck. So why should we? It's time for the Ukrainians to sort this out one way or another, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Mexico.
Good old Mexico.
Mexico comes on right afterwards. President of Mexico comes up, does a press briefing, and is like, hey, we see Trump's coming on. We immediately are going to start securing our borders, and we're going to start changing economic policy so that we're not smacked in the face with tariffs. Like, right afterwards. Right after.
And speaking elected. Of like Mexico, Central America, there was a migrant caravan, a gigantic migrant caravan running up through Central America. Trump wins within 48 hours. The caravan went away. It dissolved because they're like, why are we going to America if there's no point in going to America anymore?
No more free money.
24 to 48 hours. He's resolving so many things.
And there are reports of a whole bunch of illegal immigrants just leaving the country now.
Yep.
And it's probably in their best interest. I would not want to be caught in a dragnet. It's just not worth it, especially if you have a family. Just leave. Just get the fuck out, because it's going to be so much better for you and your loved ones. Do not. You're here illegally. We're a sovereign nation. You were not invited. You need to leave. And you should probably do it the easiest way for you. In any case, I thought it was super interesting to see Mexico like immediately stand at attention and salute President Trump, like within hours of him coming online. Again,
we saw like I said, we saw the whole world go, oh,
shit got real.
We know what we're supposed to be doing. We'll take care of it.
Yeah,
don't you fucking worry.
And they haven't been. It drives me fucking nuts.
That is the weakness that I've been pointing out. That is the weakness that we have seen throughout the fucking world when they understand that we don't have a commander-in-chief that is actually going to do anything other than get paid to sit on ass.
Exactly.
So,
again, to Kamala supporters out there, it is fair for you to think that, hey, Kamala isn't Joe Biden. Okay, and she might have been this very strong leader. Maybe We don't know. We would never know because she was not really strong on policy. She didn't come out and really command the respect of people like Putin and these other presidents across the world. She didn't really do much. You know, she had people come up and dance on her, you know, on her stage when she was doing her rallies, right? Meg Thee Stallion came out and did her thing, and you know, Eminem and these other people came out and supported her. But that is not what Trump was doing. Trump was just being authoritative. It's like, hey, tariffs are coming, bitches. Be ready. And so people stood up and took point.
Yeah.
And so
she couldn't even get Beyonce to sing a free concert for her. No. I think she's gonna get Putin to fucking stop a war.
No. So we have to. So what I'm doing here is I'm falling back on what we saw with Joe Biden at the helm. And at Joe Biden at the helm, the world was a less safe place. The economies of the world were in decline. And the second that everybody recognized that, hey, there is a North Star, and that North Star is Trump, we can follow that. That's a leader we can follow. Everything is starting to fall into line. And that's what we're seeing here. And the list continues. So Saudi Arabia expelled and is expelling all of the Hamas leaders in the kingdom, immediately aligning with Trump's firm position on combating terrorism and indicating a strategic realignment in the Middle East, distancing themselves from extremist groups. Huge. You gotta ask yourself, why didn't they do this under Joe Biden? Why didn't they do this with a Vice President Harris? They didn't need to. They could do whatever the fuck they want. They were completely immune from any sort of, you know, political or economic, you know, damage from the United States.
Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing, you know, in the Middle East, you know, Hamas, right? You were talking about that. The Taliban, Qatar, evicting Hamas leaders. And then Iran was getting their shit in order too, because they're starting to cut off all their terrorist organization groups. They're like, the money's dried up. We don't want to get sanctioned again, right? Yeah. So that's why you're seeing all of this support in the Middle East go away. Is they were kicking up shit out there in the Middle East and funding all of these terrorist organizations because they could get away with it.
Iran was directly funding Hamas and the Houthis. Okay. Hamas operating obviously within Palestine and in places like just in Yemen and whatnot, but in Lebanon as well. But the Houthis as well were also directly funded by Iranians, and the Houthis have been running amok in Yemen. And the Houthi leader comes out. He's like, we would like to see an immediate de-escalation of war, and we're going to work with President Trump to make this happen. Like immediately afterwards. And he also would love to see, you know, Trump, you know, he wants to figure out a world in which Trump in the United States can take a softer stance on him and his faction, the Houthi rebels. I mean, that's suddenly on the table. Before, the only answer the United States has had forever has been bomb them, right? Yeah. Houthi equals bombing, and now maybe they'll come to the table and be like, okay, we're gonna knock this shit off. It's just we're out of resources, and this is about to get real bad for us. And then again, this just happened right after Trump came into power.
All of this has happened in the last 5 days, right?
Yes.
And I almost guarantee you that Israel is going to stop pursuing matters as well. If they get their hostages back and Hamas quiets down, I guarantee you that they're going to settle the fuck down too. And we will have relative peace out there in the Middle East until we start getting his Lincoln Accords back in order again. Right. And we start having trade and prosperity moving between those countries out there, and everybody realizes it's better to make trade and not war.
Exactly. And that's all that Trump wants. Trump wants to make money.
Yeah.
He wants to pay off some debt.
Yep.
That'd be great.
He wants to see people prospering and not warring. He can't stand the fact of all of these people dying. He would much rather everybody just fight it out economically than killing each other with boots on the ground.
Right.
So.
Right. Which brings us to our next point. New York. The same week. I think it was like the day after. Like, okay, we're gonna stop. We're gonna kill all of these the voucher program for all illegal immigrants living in New York City, I believe. And so, so now they've stopped handing out free money and free food to all the illegal immigrants living in New York.
Yep.
And there's a direct consequence that's going to happen now. They're going to leave. They will either,
or they're going to start stealing.
well,
One
I
of
don't.
the two.
This is possible. This is possible, but likely they're either going to join society and be helpful, or they're going to leave because, again, they don't want to get caught in the incoming dragnet.
Right.
It's not helping them that states like New York, Colorado, Washington are saying that they're going to oppose any sort of Trump mandate to fight illegal immigration. Well, guess what, states? You don't have the right. Good luck. You do not. You literally have no say here. It is the federal government's charter to maintain sovereignty, not yours.
Yeah.
So they're gone. And if you can't really fight the United States military because that's what's going to happen. And no governor is going to want to see the fucking Marines rolling down their streets because they fucked up. That would be, they talk about a career limiting move, right?
Yeah.
Tenure your resignation immediately because you have just ruined your state. Everybody's going to look at you differently now.
Yep. And if you start cutting off the incentives, the people are either A, going to start breaking laws so that you actually have to do something about them. I mean, more laws than they've already broken by coming into the country, or they're going to leave, or they're going to go out and get jobs and get off the welfare state, right? It's only a net positive by cutting people off,
right,
and letting them make their own way, because if you keep them on the teat for too long, they're never going to be grown up adults, right? They're just going to be a burden. And Congress, like we've talked about this before, Congress has already made a detailed report, and just for the amount of migrants that we have in the country right now, I'm going to reiterate it, $451 billion annually, okay, for the 20-something million people that are in the country illegally.
That's to feed, house, and care for them.
Fucking out of control, okay? That's their healthcare, their education. It's the whole shebang. $451 billion annually for 20 million people. Makes me so fucking sad.
And how much is it going to cost to deport them?
80 million annually.
Billion.
80 billion.
Yeah.
Billion. Sorry, the 451 was a billion, not a million.
Right.
It was a billion. And 80 billion to get rid of migrants. And you start targeting the ones that are breaking the laws, right? More than just coming in illegally, but you start with the violent criminals, right? The ones that are doing the rapes, the murders, the thefts. You start getting rid of that element first, and then you start getting rid of the ones that refuse to come to their court hearings.
I mean, they all have to go anyway. Yeah, pick your poison, build a battle plan. It's going to need to happen.
I mean, we got to get rid of the ones that are the problem first, and then the rest will fall in line.
Exactly. So if we move along here, President of China, Xi Jinping, expressed a desire for a peaceful coexistence with the United States. He came out and he said the words. He didn't type it out. It wasn't a tweet on WeChat. It was like, hey, Trump, let's be peaceful here. Let's just simmer down. We're going to start simmering this down. Taiwan's looking awfully good as a distant neighbor. Maybe we could just have a respectful existence with you guys. And additionally, he said, we respect the will of the American people to elect President Trump. And so he's already like coming out with, bearing some olives here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's incredible to see the world leaders come out and congratulate Trump on his historic victory, because I don't think there's ever been a president that has lost an election and come back the following election. I don't
Cleveland.
think. Is it Grover Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We looked this up. So, but it doesn't even matter. If you look how long has it been since the United States has been like an authority on the world stage? I think I'm going to go back to Bush. I think that's the last time. Because Obama came out and he was kind of a pushover. Like, he was super networking and everybody loved him, but he didn't have backbone. And so what happened? You had, Putin went in and just took Crimea. They're like, oh yeah. This Obama guy, he's not going to do fucking anything. We could just take Crimea. And they did, to no applause from anybody. Everybody's like, all right, the United States isn't going to do anything, so we're not going to fuck around with it.
Yeah. And I think that Obama did a lot of wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. He did more intel stuff. He wasn't a strong leader up front, but he was the kind of guy that would drone strike the shit out of your country, because he was the drone strike commander in chief.
Right.
You know, he killed a lot of people with drones, a lot.
He did. He did.
And then all of his backdoor deals, like he was infamous for his backdoor deals. You know, he was making backdoor deals with every country that we have adversarial relationships with. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that Crimea wasn't a fucking backdoor deal.
Regardless, it sets up the stage that America is, for sale. Where we're here you guys can do business with the United States. It's just, you gotta have the right price, and that's not good. You don't want that at all. You want to go into that negotiation fearing that you're going to walk away with nothing, and it's going to be a bad day for whatever country you're representing.
Right.
Which is exactly what you did with Bush, and you're going to have that again with Trump. Except Trump, where Bush might have feigned tariffs and feigned war. Trump's not going to feign war. He does not want to go to war with you. He will not.
Yeah.
He simply won't. He doesn't care to go to war with anybody. But he will cut you out of the world economic
sanctions, tariffs.
Plan. Yeah, it'll be real bad.
He will ruin your economy.
Mm-hmm. Because it's likely flowing through the United States at some nexus at some point.
Or some trade channel that we're protecting.
Exactly. And so, speaking of which, the European Union Union chief came out and said that they are drafting plans to stop importing LNG, liquefied natural gas, from Russia and resume trade with the United States. And that came out of nowhere. I didn't even realize that was something that they weren't doing already. It's kind of shocking. I would imagine that they would be getting their LNG from the United States and not from Russia. I mean, it's cheap from Russia. It's also right there. They got pipelines coming straight from the Russian oil fields straight into Europe. I get it. But suddenly, apparently this wasn't an option with Biden.
We tried expanding our LNG products 8 years ago pretty heavily because there was a huge market for LNG. Huge market worldwide for LNG. China wanted all of our LNG. And we were going to make a bunch of money on LNG. And I don't know why it fell through the cracks. We've talked about, the way that lobbyists work and the political world moves and stuff like that. And the LNG process to capture it is very expensive to implement. And right now, LNG kind of flows naturally from under the ground when they're doing their oil drilling, and they just burn it. They just have these giant flares all over the oil fields that are burning the LNG. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that it was like oil lobbyists that kind of killed the LNG stuff. But we will dig into that more and find it out for 100%. See kind of why it didn't happen and whatever.
So apparently, earlier this year, the Biden administration announced a temporary pause on new LNG exports here in the United States. Authorizations to non-free trade agreement countries. The decision aimed to update economic and environmental analysis, considering the rapid growth of LNG exports and their potential impacts. The pause affected pending applications, but not impact existing operations or projects under construction. Still, that's a big deal. Just to be like, okay, no new anything. That's great, dude. This whole climate thing is driving me nuts.
It's even though we were still free flowing through a lot of our oil. Wells that we currently had drilled, they weren't expanding it. They weren't expanding the market. So like if you're in the oil business and you think, do I want to reinvest my money into my company, or do I want to just let the company naturally fail and take the money and put it in my pocket and walk away from this industry, because this industry won't be around anymore, right? In a few years, they'll ban it and it'll be gone. So as a business person, it's not smart to reinvest your money into opening new wells or updating your equipment or doing anything in a failed industry.
Right.
So if you want to know why oil and gas is going to be really hard to get up and running again, because it takes years to get some of these processes rolling, right? And you've got a industry that has been sitting idle for fucking 4 years now. They've just been rolling in what they already had. So they're down to skeleton crews. So now you got to hire and train and rebuild a whole industry. So it's going to be a pain in the butt.
It will be a pain in the butt, but I see it happening. And
of course, there's money. There's money
so
there.
much money.
They'll make it happen.
And a lot of
It'll
people
just take a few years.
A lot of people like to argue, like, "Oh wow, you're walking away from all the progress we made with, sun, solar, wind, all these other sources of energy that are not coming from hydrocarbons." A lot of people don't realize that there are so much subsidies right now coming from the government to prop up these industries. They only exist because of the subsidies of the United States government. If the government
Because
treated...
they can't work on their own. I'm sorry. They're not profitable.
No. So if the government stopped subsidizing all of this quote unquote free energy, then it would all collapse. Like you would see the price of Teslas go from, right now they're about 32. They would go from 32 to about 40,000 overnight. All right. Yeah. Actually, it's actually more than that.
For their cheap models.
Yeah. This is for the baseline model. So the entry level, so it's actually more than that because in their price, they're reflecting the amount of money you're saving on gas. So that's like another a few thousand a year. But you're talking about an increase in prices by about $8,000 on the most standard model. And so now when you're telling a family who's interested in buying, or anybody who's interested in buying a new car, that the entry level EV model out of Tesla is now $40,000 to $50,000, that's suddenly gone. That's not even close, right? A lot of the average American is going to spend maybe $30,000 on a new car, and that's a big payment. That's a big monthly payment.
If you're looking, let's say you get a $30,000 payment, right, and it's a 9% interest rate. I mean, you're looking at $500-600 a month.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And to add to your monthly bills.
Exactly. So, and that's for a $30,000 car, let alone a $50,000. Right. Anyway, so we need to bring back petrol and oil. That's where the money is right now. That's how we make this world run. It's not subsidized solar power.
You need to let the free market and the counter effect to that, right? Because I love oil and gas. I don't have a problem with it. I've worked in the industry. I know how clean the gathering process is. I mean, it's beautiful out there. I loved working out there. It was like being in nature every day. But the oil and gas industry actively fights against competition, and that needs to be worked out so that doesn't exist anymore. There needs to be carburetors that can run 250 miles to a gallon of gasoline, right? There needs to be innovation within the market. We've had the same fucking cars and the same gas prices and the same miles per gallon for 50 years. And I guarantee you there's some people out there that have figured out how to make it cleaner and more efficient and better. And it has been stifled.
Oh, yes. Stifled is the nicest way you could have possibly put that.
It has been, the products have been bought and put in a vault, or the people that refuse to sell have been waxed. We have talked about this before on the podcast, and it's a conspiracy theory, but I fully believe it because whenever there's money involved, people get really gross.
There's no conspiratorial anything about it. It's just that. Go ask the family of Pogue, of whatever his name is, Mr. Pogue, who just suddenly ended up dead on a New Mexico highway in the middle of the desert. Anyway, circling is back off of that, because we should do a podcast on that one alone. It's so interesting. And honestly, so again, if you're a Kamala Harris supporter, you're down in the dumps, you lost the election, and you're like, why should I bother sticking around? I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to go to Canada, where it's safer for me and my family. Look at the economy as your again, another source, another indication that a Trump presidency is going to really bring in a new golden era, and you want to be in this country to reap the benefits. Financial markets and crypto markets, domestically and internationally, all surged. Okay, crypto. So if you look at Bitcoin alone, right before the presidency, it was sitting at about 70,000. Okay, it was going from 68, 73, kind of like just oscillating between these numbers. It becomes clear that Trump's going to win, and we're now sitting at 80,000 for Bitcoin, brand new highs, and it's just skyrocketing every day. It just gets higher and higher and higher, and that tells you that people are trusting the economy. People are trusting the domestic output of the United States, and so they want to put their money in that power plant of innovation and export and just whatever.
Yeah, and it helps to understand too that Trump isn't going to put a centralized currency in place that gets rid of Bitcoin and Doge and all of the other Ethereum, right? Ethereum,
Yep, Ethereum,
whatever.
Ethereum.
It that definitely boosts speculation, because you don't want to be invested into a dead coin and holding onto a coin that's going to die when they put out a centralized currency.
Right.
So,
and
it's with anything else.
If you are a Kamala Harris supporter and you thought she was going to prop up the crypto market, let me tell you this. All right, she was working with Elizabeth Warren behind the scenes, and Elizabeth Warren is actively attacking your cryptocurrency. Elizabeth Warren, for whatever reason, wants to return Bitcoin and every one of these crypto markets back to the binary dust it came from, for whatever reason.
I honestly really think that the political left just fucking hates everything that's good and holy in this world. I don't understand what is going on with their political party right now.
I wonder just how much they are owned by the Federal Reserve at this point.
I mean, really they've got to be completely and just completely bought and paid for by the federal. And part of me wonders how much China owns of the Federal Reserve and Israel. You know,
they're big lobbies, man. The Israel lobby is no joke.
It's huge.
Yep,
it's huge.
So
it wouldn't surprise me to see that America's in the hole a lot to those companies, or those countries.
Probably. Well, they already own a bunch of land and whatnot here in the United States too, China specifically. Yeah. So if you actually look at another potential appointment of the Trump cabinet is Ron Paul, specifically working in the Department of Governmental Efficiency. And Ron Paul has eyes on only a single target, and that is the Federal Reserve.
It's the only thing that he has run for president for 30 years on.
Yes.
Auditing the Fed.
This guy is 89 years old, and the only thing that keeps him alive is the possibility to run an audit on the Federal Reserve. And if he is allowed to put that together, it's over. So I don't remember which article of the Constitution that basically gives the legislative body of the House and the Senate control over the currency. But at some point, we abdicated that constitutional right and power, and we handed it over to a Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is federal in name only. It is a private institution that likes to isolate themselves from the federal government. So what Ron Paul is going to do is he's going to come in and challenge the notion that the Federal Reserve is independent.
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5.
Bingo.
Power of the purse.
Power of the purse. Exactly. And Ron Paul is going to be like, we're going to assume power of the purse. Federal Reserve. Yeah. Nationalized. We're no longer paying you 6% interest on our own fucking currency.
Good luck if it's 6%, man. It's probably closer to 10 right now.
No. It's not very big. It's not very big.
Every dollar that we print, 6 cents goes directly to the bankers.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
And so,
and that's what it was. I mean, when we've been debating this for 12 years now.
I don't think
so. 12 years ago, it was 6 cents.
Yeah, it might still be the same. It might be more. It doesn't matter. A lot of people don't realize that the Federal Reserve is just a job. It's just a job.
Yeah.
And you could go out there and work your way into the Federal Reserve, apply for it, be at the top of your Ivy League school, and do some hedge funding, be successful, and then get hired on by the Federal Reserve, and then just make more money than God himself is even aware of. Okay. Anyway, the world would change overnight if we nationalized the Federal Reserve. Overnight, we would eliminate all of our debt. We would eliminate all of our poverty. It would be over because there is so much money that we just give away for free because of our abdication of the. Oh God, I don't know if I am.
You don't want to hear this. This is way worse than I thought it was.
Oh boy.
They charge you per dollar printed, and it's a varying amount for the dollar bill amount. So for $1 to be printed, it's 5.4 cents. Printing a $100 bill costs 15.4 cents.
Oh wow.
The $50 bill is the most expensive to print, and it costs 19 cents.
How about the 20?
It's not on the list.
Jeez. But there you go. So it hasn't changed much, but that's still a lot of money. That's so much money. Holy God. Yeah. Anyway.
That made my heart hurt. Ron Paul, save me.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, like, could you imagine, like, for every $20 or every $50 bill that we're printing, we're getting 80 cents of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. Yep. And we can send that straight into healthcare. We can help
schools, teachers, freaking wages.
The other thing, the other thing that's on the ticket, so Trump hasn't actually talked about this yet, but his cabinet members have, is that they want to unfuck what the Democrats did to our mental health institutions. They want to, so the Democrats over the last 16 years or so have basically eliminated all of them. Every last mental health institution, public mental health institution in the United States is now, it doesn't work. It's non-functional. There might be a couple that are still here and there, but for the most part, the network is completely obliterated. What happens is all those people end up homeless on the street. They're homeless for a couple of reasons. One, they all want to be there. They all choose to be homeless for the most part. Okay, we're talking in broad strokes.
Right.
Homeless, they choose to be homeless, but a lot of them are struggling from some sort of drug addiction or some sort of mental illness. And for the mental illness section of this group of people, there's no recourse for them. There's nothing. The United States offers no support for them because of the Democrats and their attack on mental health institutions. We bring them back, and we can get so many people so much help, to include veterans with PTSD that the VA wants nothing to do with.
I'm super excited about the innovation of using mushrooms to kind of help PTSD and the recovery in that. It's been blocked for a really long time, but there's been some promising studies. So I hope that they do it well and they go into it with, not a warp speed approach to something. And they actually get the veterans that have the PTSD and just the normal people that have PTSD help.
Agreed. Yep.
Because that's a horrible thing to live with that kind of trauma every day.
It is. Anyways, I have gone through my list. Is there anything else you want to append to this?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my list. It's not as long. So FEMA, right? The FEMA official, they were allegedly told not to go to homes and help in Florida and Georgia and Tennessee if they had a Trump sign out in their yard. So they were told to bypass those. So the person who did that directive just recently got fired. So I'm all for that. I'm a huge fan of that crap.
It's more than that. I know it's a female, right? That signed that or that put that out there, but more than just her. Her entire chain of command should be completely fired. Everybody. You should follow
anybody
that all
that
the way up to
that,
Mayorkas. That whole line gone.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
She didn't just get it in her mind to do that.
No.
But the other one is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Has put out a wanted notice for Fauci. He's looking for him. Nobody can find him. So if anybody knows where Fauci Ouchie has gone to speak up so that we can find that guy. That's fucking hilarious that they can't find him. Did you heard about the Iranians that got popped for that assassination attempt?
Yeah.
There's 3 of them, I believe.
Talk about
that
it.
Were, huh?
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, so there was 3 Iranian people here in the country that were putting together a plot on President Trump's life. It was supposed to take place during his re-election bid. So they must have got him about a week ago.
Well, the re-election bid it's been happening for months.
Oh, okay. Is this period the re-election bid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, yeah, they got him in the last week.
Who knows?
So
maybe some of those random attacks that didn't make the news that were thwarted. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Because then we've been listening to things.
It could have been, but it just came through the news cycle yesterday. I've been trying to look into it, but I've been so busy with so much crap. I need to jump into that. But I mean, we're going to keep seeing that.
Right.
Like, we have so many people unvetted in the country right now. It's a huge security issue. Okay. It is a travesty that they were catching people down on the border that were on the terrorist watch list, like really awful people. Okay. And then half of those people probably are in the country right now that they didn't catch. So
and for everybody who is, listening in, who's like super pro Trump, man, keep sending your positive vibes his way. Like, if you are into prayer, if you're a Christian, I really don't care what ideology you represent, but send whatever you want his way, because there are evil forces out there, And just like Zach said, there's a bazillion people living in this country that harbor the illest of will toward this man. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were at the very tippy top of the mountain screaming about how he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, and people are listening. And they're going to try and do something about it.
You know, down that vein, I guess maybe I want to go a little bit. We've been talking kind of this whole podcast a little bit about why you should just take a deep breath and relax and realize that things are going to be okay. There are a lot of people out there that are freaking the fuck out. They're crying. They're all posting it all over the internet for some reason. I don't understand what you're doing. You're going to be fine. The country is going to be in a much better spot. It's going to be in a stronger spot. All of your rights that you think are going to go away, they're just going to become stronger and more unalienable, right? You will not lose your rights. You're going to continue to be gay or trans or whatever. The government may not pay for it, but you're going to be just fine, okay? And we're all going to continue to protect your rights to be whoever you want to be, you know? We may not be best friends, but you can do whatever the hell you want to do to your own body. Yep. And it's going to be okay.
Yep. It's funny you say that. And so I'm sure many people, I'm one of them, I think, Zach, you're another one, have actually lost friends over this presidency. Oh, yeah. I had no idea. So here's the ridiculousness. I said this in the last podcast, is that all my friends are from agrarian, Idaho and Montana, very rural. So they come from Trump territory. I come from the big city. And I grew up in big cities my whole life. I was liberal leaving a big city, shocker. Here I am, though, in 2024. More right than I've ever been in my life. Super pro-Trump, happy with all the stuff that he's about to come through. I bring it up in our Discord channel, and people lost their shit. At some point, I was debating one person in particular who I followed. The termination was, or I should say the conversation was terminated after I made the statement, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. And then that person left the building. I noticed, though, it was just me talking, pro-Trump stuff. And so then I asked, I'm like, wait a second, am I the only Trump person in this room? To my surprise, yes. I was the only one out of like 11 of us. I was like, wait, how is this? This doesn't make any sense. You guys are from Trump territory and are living in Trump territory and are in the military and all these things. How is it? They had no answer for me. But I was like, guys, I'm just going to exit the building. I respect y'all. I think y'all fucking crazy, but I don't want to say anything that's going to damage any more relationships. But some damage has been done. And some of them they want nothing else to do with me. I don't even get it.
I hope that they come around. I've had a couple friends that stopped talking to me for years. And then a couple of years go by and they're like, maybe we shouldn't let politics get in the way. And then we start talking and it's okay again. And hopefully none of the friends that I've recently made up with before this last year, have now decided that they're like, fuck you, Zach.
Yeah. I mean, to be totally fair, I only have a handful of friends that I actually care about. These guys, I've known them since college. It's going on over 20 years now. But if they want to cop attitude and peace out and write themselves out of the campaign, fuck it. I give zero shits. Adios. Like, I cared very little for you before. Like, we were just friends because you were in the group. Bye. I'm sorry. Like, you never meant that much to me. And they're starting to realize that. Because I was very, it's really weird too. I'm the only dropout of the entire group. But, I'm not, because you're not in these chats and you're not, participating in these arguments. I will say this. I'm certainly the most researched and the most articulate in my position. And it takes them a lot of effort to convince themselves that they're right.
Right.
They can't convince me. Don't get me wrong. I have changed my position in many arguments with them, one way or another. Right. They will make a valid point. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, and I will rethink something and then come back to them, either having rethought it, strengthening my position, like, well, have you considered X, Y, Z, or retracting it. It's like, hey, you're right. I'm going to walk this back. They never do that though. They literally, they never ever will sit back and say, hey, we might have been wrong here. They always say, oh, Jesse's the dropout, therefore he must be wrong. We're going to figure this out together. It's just like, all right, you guys aren't going to learn. That's unfortunate.
That is the healthy discourse that needs to happen within the country, so that we can move forward. You need a clinical or a science-based methodology, right, to move industry forward, to move innovation forward. You cannot be stuck in your ways with your ego as the only thing that is proving you right. You need to rip things apart and see what works. And if you're wrong, just take it. It's okay to be wrong, and then move forward.
It's what you know what I you know, it's part of just growing up, right? Is being able to recognize that, hey, the more mature you are, I should say, the older you become, the more easy it is to recognize that you're wrong. And then how powerful is that? How I could totally tell you at my professionally, as soon as I recognized it was okay to be wrong, and then I learned from that, and I'm able to quickly rebound and make progress, it's insanely valuable to me, my team, and my organization, and the products I'm working on, the security that I'm responsible for. It benefits everybody. The second you could recognize that you're wrong, as opposed to hold on to a stupid point and then, drag everybody down with you. And so I wish I had learned that a lot earlier in life. I'd be way more successful today. But now I start off with the assumption I'm probably wrong, and I bake it into my routine, into my processes at work. So that way people have an opportunity at any step along the way to call it out. And say, hey, Jesse, you might be wrong here. And they, I invite it because I'm 6'5", I have a beard. People call me intimidating because I speak. I am an alpha mentality, but I'm not like I am better than you. It's just I just go. Right. I'm in go mode. I have a destination I'm trying to get to, and I'm just gonna get there. And so I have to put in these breaks for people to interject, but it works, and it lets people step in and do that, and it's served me well.
Yeah, I always assume, when I'm doing any kind of troubleshooting, what did I do that made this problem happen? And it usually works out pretty well in finding the problem very quickly.
Right. It's powerful. Anyway, I wish these other guys saw that. I don't know how. I don't know why they don't see it.
It's hard because everybody's been kind of brainwashed by the Democratic Party to believe that if you're not a Democrat and you're not on the Democratic Party, you're evil, right? You don't have any compassion, and you're there to hurt everybody, and that's what everybody sees now, right? The xenophobic, Nazi, German fucking bullshit. Because that's what the brainwashing was being pushed on the American people. And until you kind of like break away from that and realize that the Americans that are supporting Trump aren't supporting Trump because they hate their fellow Americans. They just want to see a strong country moving forward that can protect everyone and their rights, right? Including gay, trans, whatever, interracial couples. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, is that they want to break up interracial couples. Just take a deep effing breath and realize that it's just propaganda and bullshit, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
It's good.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's fucking stupid.
It's all right. It's all right. You'll be okay. It's just it's part of this. Unfortunately, that's what the woke agenda has done. It's made people incredibly thin-skinned, really thin-skinned, like hyper. Like it just they will be. They could be so easily wounded, and that's how this whole thing started. Is one of the people in this group we were discussing. I was like, I said like, I'm super related to Trump's president, and they're like, how dare you? He said he wants to rebel journalists, and my wife is a journalist. He wants to wait my journalist, my wife. I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but your wife's work will never ever ever make it to the White House. I'm sorry, you're not that important. And even if she was, Trump's not going to rip her, or have anybody else rip her for that matter. What the hell are you talking about? And then they referenced some random, joke he made in a rally 2 years ago. I was like, you got to get over yourself. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
People's drama, man. I mean, it's just drama. It's so much drama. They need to take a deep breath and just relax. Think about how they can actually help the guy succeed versus tearing him down, and maybe we'll be in a really good position, right? Because we don't I really just take a second and analyze that if you allow America to fail, right, through your stupidity or your ego, China and Russia, people like that are going to pick up the pieces, okay? And then you won't have any fucking rights, and you think you're going to get raped with Trump, but you're actually going to get that with China and Russia, right? Right now, Afghanistan is currently allowing 9-year-olds to get married. Okay. They are passing that law this week. When we had a good, solid Democrat country under Trump before Biden pulled out, okay, inappropriately, they had women going to college. Okay. They cannot even have good education systems. I think the 6th grade is the highest level of education women are allowed now. Okay. And they're doing child brides. So congratulations. The Democratic Party has allowed that through their inability to manage a country and their allies. So that is the kind of shit that you need to recognize when you're crying about Trump. It never would have happened, and all of these people in Afghanistan would not be getting married at 9. They'd be going to college instead. You know, like, it just makes me really fucking sad that we can't understand the consequences of our actions when it comes to shit like this. So we need to make sure that a strong country is going forward helps the rest of the world, because we can push our ideals on the rest of the world. And hopefully our ideals are not 9-year-old child brides.
A lot of people like to blame, I don't know, Palestine, the Palestinians on the war, right? They say Israel's just defending themselves. It's like, well, what happened? How did that terrible, it was October, that terrible day in October.
October 7th, yeah.
October 7th in 2023. How did that kick off? Well, Iran was allowed to do whatever Iran wants to do. They were sending lots of money and training and whatnot over to Hamas, and it enabled them to go conduct the attack in the first place. Yep. They did not fear recourse under Joe Biden. They would have never done that shit under Trump. And so we have to sit back and recognize that you had a leader that was allowed to just run amok because Joe wasn't going to do shit about it.
Iran wouldn't have had the money because they wouldn't have needed oil from OPEC because we would have been producing it here. So we wouldn't have been funneling billions of dollars into Iran that they could then funnel into Hamas and Hezbollah.
Under Trump, we nuked the deal that we had with Iran and their nuclear program. We killed it. And we said, instead of this stupid deal where we're going to give them hundreds of millions of dollars a year, we're going to sanction them instead. So not only can you not import any of these refined materials from North Korea, we're going to stop you from doing that. We're going to also stop giving you all this money, and we're going to sanction you on top of all of this. It really hampered them, and they couldn't do shit. And so Iran was trying to figure out how to get out from under it. What did Joe do when he came into power? Undid all of it. He undid all the sanctions, and that allowed Iran to fund Hamas to conduct that war. And then let's move over to Ukraine. Everybody is just sick over the amount of people who have died in Ukraine, both in Ukrainians and in Russians. It's horrible. We're talking about 1 million people. But why did that happen? It happened because Kamala Harris, along with Joe Biden, went in and nuked, again, stopped a bunch of deals in Minsk from taking place that would have kind of helped Russia feel more secure with a growing and expanding West. All right. They wanted to make sure that Ukraine didn't join NATO, and they were working towards that agreement in Minsk. Kamala walked in and said, deal's off the table, and walked out. And then what did she do in response? Started moving more Javelin missile systems into Ukraine right along the border, antagonizing Russia to attack. They were setting it up. A lot of people don't appreciate that there's a series of events that led to Putin going into Ukraine. And he didn't want to go into war. He did not want war with Ukraine. It's costing him way more than it is Ukraine in terms of lives. So we were just, my wife and I were just looking this up. Russia leads the world in an imbalance between men and women in their populations because the Russian men keep dying in these wars. Yep. And it's causing a literal population imbalance, the biggest in the world. Yeah. So they're hurting from this as well. But
we had a real problem with mail order brides 20 years ago, 30 years ago because of shit like this. So
yeah. Anyway, it's so everything is not black and white. Putin is not just bad man, therefore he goes into Ukraine. No, he was set up by our regime, by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They set this up.
It's not a good decision. It's not good that he made the decision to start the war, but he was
Provoked.
pushed up to the edge, and they were like, "You can jump if you're feeling froggy," and he jumped, right?
Yep. That's a whole nother debate whether it was the right call or not. But he would not have done it. Trump would have never pushed him to that point. Trump would have been like, "Yeah, fuck it. We're not going to put Ukraine in NATO. They're not on the Atlantic. They have nothing to do with us. They're Eastern European.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here, Ukraine. You want to join the EU? Then work with the Europeans. But you're not joining NATO." And then suddenly, and Putin loved it. Putin's like, "Thank you. That's all we wanted." And Trump's like, "Sure, it cost me nothing to do. That's free peace. It cost us free peace. And now we can work a little more closely." And Joe is like, nah, fuck that. We're going to get those guys in NATO. Let's antagonize Putin some. Stupid. Anyway, we could go on
money
and on.
to be made in all of it.